When you and Dave's and your staff evaluate these quarterbacks, either in person or in film, I know you watch a ton of film, you've seen a lot of these kids in person, what are some of the things you kind of focus in on when you study these guys?
Yeah, I mean, all positions have different critical factors that we focus in on. So, I mean, with the quarterback position, we've been through this before with Dave's and I, and it's not just what you see on film. I think I've said this before. At this particular position, you can take what you see on film, but I think it's equally as important what you can't see on film and spending time with the prospects, not just at that position, but I mean that's a reason we bring in several prospects from different positions. For the 30 visits, we go and have private workouts, not just with quarterbacks, but other positions as well. So again, I think the film is one thing, but also evaluating who they are as people and how they'll fit into your culture and your franchise is equally important. So again, that's across all positions.
Obviously, you've done a lot of work on the quarterbacks. What's been your impression of this group as a whole, from spending a lot of time with them, and also with a guy like J.J. McCarthy? The concept of, from the outside, people are like, oh, he's rising up draft boards, right? They think that through the process, the combine, the pro days and everything, a player rises up. Do you view that as the case, that on a grand scheme of things, that guys do that, or is it you had guys already in those spots beforehand?
No, I think the rising is a thing like that can happen, again, just not specifically quarterback only, but we were having a conversation about a player yesterday that we had some concerns with throughout the fall, but every step along the way they've answered the bell and continued to improve, whether it was an all-star game, combine, pro day, visit here, private workout, continue to answer the bell. So I do think the more you're around these players and you get comfortable with how they're wired and what they're about, like I do think you can give them, the push up. And I think, the quarterback class it's a good quarterback class, and I think it's deep. And, you look at some of the guys and, the amount of games some of these guys have started and played. I mean, it's impressive. And, you really haven't seen a class like that with some of the quarterbacks that have started and played as many games as they have at a high level. So it's been really fun getting to know these guys. Again, it's a unique position. There's only so many people walking planet Earth that can play that position at a high level. So really getting around these guys, we like to do it every year, and getting to know them, I think is important. And it's not just necessarily this year's draft, but you look at some of the past drafts, some of the high picks at that position that were traded or became free agents or whatever it may be. I think the exposure coming out of college at that position is important. And again, not just for today, but maybe they are free agents or they're going to be traded or whatever it may be down the road. So I think that's important.
You mentioned when a team is trading up for a quarterback that sometimes the draft chart goes out the window a little bit and you have to pay a little bit more. When there's two teams that are potentially interested in going up for that quarterback, does that bidding war commence in a way, and then is there a step away point where you have to be like, okay, we're starting to get to a number here that's just we can't go there?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been in a draft where at least not that I could think of off the top of my head, where we move back with a team that's coming up with, for a quarterback or bidding team. So I'm not sure how that would work out. I really haven't been a part of that. But yeah, in any negotiation, if you have leverage, you're going to be able to probably get what your asking price is. So whether it's football or any walk of life, leverage helps in any deal. So I think if somebody's trying to move up, again, it could be the third round, it could be the second round, and there's multiple bidders, you're going to take the best deal, I would assume.
But what about potentially being in a situation where you're one of those teams trying to go up with another team?
Yeah, if you're trying to move, you don't know what everybody else is doing. I have no way to know what the other 31 teams are doing. But to your back to your first question, absolutely, there's a walk away point on everything. Again, just in any negotiation, there's a what are you comfortable spending, and then is it worth it or not? And then you got to be comfortable walking away and going to your plan B or whatever it may be. If you can't get up for that player, okay, well, who's going to be there when you're picking and be ready to execute then?
Determining how aggressive you want to be in potentially moving up, how much do you weigh your early evaluations on next year's draft? Like what you think that class could be when you're thinking about potentially parting with future picks?
Yeah, not just draft, but free agency. Like what's that market going to... You're always looking at that, the market in the future and who's become available, but you can only weigh that so much. I'll never forget, I was I was living in Texas at the time, and I was golfing with one of the Carolina Panthers scouts the day that Andrew Luck decided he was going to go back to school. So as much as you can, you don't know what's going to happen, or Tua's coming out and Tua got hurt. But you know what I mean? Like there's a player that you like, and they could get hurt. They could decide to go back to school. Dennis Hickey, our assistant director of player personnel, I think he said we had 170 players that we had draftable grades on that went back to school. So again, with the NIL, and I mean, it's like, you know, you can look at it and prepare for it, but there's no guarantee that, you know, those players will get through their college season healthy. They'll actually come out, you know, so you can try to predict as much as you want, but there are variables that can affect that as well.
This draft day like for you, especially as the picking years? What is that like? In the world.
Yeah, it's a lot of our work and the preparation, especially in the first round. Last year was a little bit more stressful because when you're picking further back in the draft, where this year it's 6, it makes it a little bit easier because you could say, okay, here's 6 names, here's how we like them, here's our different scenarios, and you can go from there. So the first round is, I'm pretty calm, to be honest with you, just because you've done all the work, and no matter how it pans out, you've got your stack and how you like the players. Last year, again, was a little, you know, there's a little bit more anxiety and uncertainty because to us last year, the draft didn't really start till pick 15, and now you're starting to narrow down who's going to be there, where, you know, picking this high, it's a little bit different. But pretty calm because all the work and the preparation that, you know, the staff, the coaches, all of us have done leading up to the draft. So usually feel pretty good about our board. And, you know, again, as you go through it, the board talks to you, and a lot of the decisions have already been made.
Or after the combine, Rich Eisen went on his show and said that all he heard was a lot of buyer's remorse from the Giants. He didn't say from whom, obviously, about the contract given to Daniel. And on Monday, Daniel talked to us, and he said very confidently he thinks he is the best quarterback to start this season, assuming he's healthy for the Giants. Where are you right now, maybe small and big picture, on Daniel Jones?
Yeah, like I said before, the expectation is for him to be our starter. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I hope he doesn't have any setbacks. He's working his tail off. You know, one of the things, you know, you go back and you watch the 2022 season, or, you know, all of his throws in 2022, like, he was a 25-year-old player that played at a high level, and we won 10 games and we won a playoff game. And I'm still confident in Daniel, the way he's wired, what he showed us in 2022. Again, do we have the best start to the season last year? Absolutely not. And a lot, you know, anything that could have went wrong, it seems like it did early on between injuries and some other things. So I've still got a lot of confidence in Daniel.
Does any part of you wonder who told Eisen that stuff?
Yeah, I can't worry. I mean, there's a lot, there's stuff out there all the time that's not true, and you really can't let it bother you. I've got a good relationship with Daniel, and we communicate all the time. He's here all the time, so we've got a good relationship, and we communicate well. And, you know, if he has an issue or hears something or something that I think I need to talk to him about, you know, we do that often.